Welcome to the Chamber Chat, your source for everything Danville and business topics that matter to you. We hope you enjoy the show. Chamber Chat. Chamber Chat.
Welcome to the Chamber Chat. This is our first podcast where we've had a guest.
Yeah.
No pressure.
So, no
At all.
pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's a little pressure on us.
Okay.
I feel like this is big pressure on us.
Yeah.
This is Jordan Yant. He's our board president, therefore our boss. And so we're going to kick it off. We'll talk about your businesses. We'll talk about the chamber. And we'll talk about you.
Yeah.
So why don't you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So a little bit about me and my wife. We've lived in Danville now 5 years. Born and raised in Hendricks County. Graduated from Covenant Christian High School back in 2005. Hendricks County's always been home. We did move to Wyoming for about 4.5 years. Had jobs out there, but then moved home to pursue opening Cabin Coffee. But I honestly, people would think this is crazy, but I never thought when I left food, I was going back into food. I met my wife as an 18-year-old at Chick-fil-A in Avon. We were teenagers and managers at the Avon Chick-fil-A. Worked with Chris Tincher and then worked there for about 6 years. And then I left food thinking I'd never go back. Got into logistics management. Kind of worked my way up and then worked for Kohl's e-commerce in Plainfield as an operations manager.
Okay.
My wife always had the passion to open restaurants. So it was kind of, she worked with Chick-fil-A, doing stuff with Project IF, which is like working directly with True Kathy, helping open the stores nationwide. Then she was a GM for Arby's off of West 10th Street.
Oh,
We were back
okay.
in Davis
Yeah.
early in our marriage.
It's my
And then-
first Arby's they ever went to.
Yeah. And then we moved out to Wyoming because she took a corporate job with Taco John's, if you're familiar with Taco John's.
Yeah.
So that's why we moved out to Wyoming. But then we always wanted to open our own business, but we actually found Cabin Coffee because it's a very small franchise. When we lived out west, we went to Breckenridge, Colorado in May for our anniversary,
Very nice.
and it snowed 2 feet in May. And so we went to go hiking, and we ended up doing snowshoeing, which I don't know if you've ever done snowshoeing.
No.
but it
It's
is
hard.
super exhausting. So we needed,
That sounds
we looked up
terrible.
best, it's pretty hard. It was beautiful though. But looked up best local coffee shops. There was a Cabin Coffee there. We walked in, had a tremendous experience. Had no idea it was a franchise. We were home visiting family probably 2.5 months later, bragging about our experience at this coffee shop. And Stephanie's mom just kind of volunteered. I think I've heard of that. I think there's one up in Goshen, Indiana. And we looked it up, and it was a franchise. And we still actually have the picture of Stephanie holding the coffee cup that says franchise is available that we were completely oblivious to.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we had no idea just because it felt so truly local. So we put in, we had been thinking about a franchise because that was really Stephanie's dream. My plan was never to be in the businesses full time, at least for a long time. But we started looking at Cabin Coffee and we talked to the founder pretty much as soon as we put in kind of an introductory thing of we're interested. We loved how close family knit the franchise was. There's only 25 locations nationwide.
Okay.
And there's a lot of self-autonomy we can have locally where we don't have to follow a certain marketing strategy. We can keep our marketing dollars local. We have a lot of flexibility with what we can do. So we were looking for that perfect balance of a brand that was created that was really good, that we didn't have to create, but also the freedom to feel like an actual business owner, not just an operator. Because a lot of franchises, like if you come up with an operational idea and you own McDonald's, they're going to laugh at you. Right. To where you, with Cabin, we were able to offer suggestions. We're really close friends with the founders. We've been able to help open other stores in the nation. But it's been a dream come true. So we moved back to Hendricks County to pursue opening it. And that's when we found the old Ritters / Dog and Suds location.
Yep.
Stephanie's parents actually found that and brought it to us. It wasn't on the market. They just knew the person who owned it. And so we got connected and then pursued opening Cabin Coffee. I kept my job at Kohl's. Stephanie worked at Covance, which is now LabCorp,
Uh-huh.
as a supervisor until she started her training. She did 10 weeks of training out in
Good
Iowa.
Lord.
I did 2 weeks of just primarily, business accounting, marketing, some of the high level stuff
Uh-huh.
that we do. And then we opened Cabin Coffee. I took 2 weeks of vacation from Kohl's. I was an operations manager, had about 600 employees that I was responsible for. And we opened Cabin Coffee. We didn't have kids at the time. And we were so busy those first 2 weeks. I looked at her and said, I have to quit my job. So I was like, I can always go back. If this doesn't work and get a job in the public field. and see what happens. And we've kind of not looked back. So it's been now 6.5 years since we opened Cabinet Coffee in Avon.
That is awesome.
So,
And you now have 2 locations.
we have 2 locations. Yeah, one in Avon, our original location, one out in Plainfield on the west side of Plainfield, out in Vandalia and US 40.
All right. So we, a couple of weeks ago, or last week actually, talked about what was our favorite like food or beverage or
Sure.
whatever at, all of the restaurants. What's your favorite thing at Cabin?
That's a really good question. I'm pretty basic. Like a vanilla latte in the morning is pretty, but our staff teases me because I don't think very many people order it. I like a London fog if you've ever had a London fog. So it's Earl Grey tea with steamed milk and vanilla.
Ooh.
Ew.
So I like tea, though. I like all tea. So I'll have that every now and then, especially if I have like a sore throat or
Yeah.
something. But our food, we serve breakfast all day. So if I'm there and want biscuits and gravy at 4 p.m., I can have biscuits and gravy at 4 p.m.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We have breakfast burritos. I mean, there's lots of stuff. I try not to drink too much caffeine. I think I might be immune at this point after the coffee shops.
Yeah.
But it took us about 3.5 years to get the Plainfield location open. We knew pretty soon that we wanted 2 Cabot coffees. Now we'll talk about obviously our other businesses,
Right.
and how those were never originally on the cards. But we let our faith drive pretty much everything that we do, and we just feel like God's continually opened doors. And we just do our best to walk through them if he keeps opening them. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So next was Lumberjacks, correct? Was
yes, next was Lumberjacks, which is an axe throwing venue out at Perry Crossing. That was where we actually partnered with another couple who owns Orange Leaf Frozen Yogurts in Avon and Plainfield, Stephanie and Trevor Bernhardt. They approached us. They already had a relationship with the mall. We were able to get into the mall for a relatively cheap deal. It was really, I never thought I'd own an axe throwing venue. I thought, it's axes and alcohol. That seems nuts.
Right.
It is. I still think that.
But again, we looked at the community and we said, what does the community need?
Right.
And we feel like Hendricks County lacks in entertainment options. Like people
Agreed.
always go to the north side, people always go downtown. It's not something that I had really done before, and it was our first thing to kind of branch off on our own. It was a learning experience, but we opened that, and it's now been 2 years ago. So it was December of 23 that we opened.
And it's still going strong.
Still going strong. It's different than everything else we do, and the mall is a unique entity all of its own. It's like its own little culture, and depending on who the ownership of the mall is and what the other stores are, it's definitely different than our other businesses, but it's still doing well.
Still doing well.
Yeah.
All right. Next was Danville Dips.
Danville Dips, yeah, which we're not the original owners of that. That was something. So we moved to Danville, like I said, about 5 years ago. We love Danville. I've always been familiar with Danville, spent time in Danville. I was born at Hendricks Regional here in Danville. And we love the square. And we always said, man, we'd love to own a business on the square. That's something we really want. And we were very regular attendees of Danville Dips once we moved to Danville. Our kids love it. And when the original owners, I just put a bug in his ear one day and say, hey, if you're ever wanting to sell, don't talk to anybody else. I'd love an opportunity, because we had bounced ideas off each other, whether that's about how you price items or different things in the restaurant world, because there's not a huge community of small business restaurant people.
Right.
In Hendricks County, it's a lot of chains, or you have the people who have been way more successful who aren't necessarily in the day to day. Like I can't call Mike Cunningham tomorrow and be like, hey, how should I price my coffee or sandwiches?
Right.
Or pick his brain on that stuff. So we planted that seed, and we got a phone call saying, hey, we're interested. We're looking at relocating down to Florida. Are you guys interested in purchasing dips? And for us, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind, because we have 3 adopted kids. We adopted our son, JJ. So he was what they call a stork drop. So we literally got a phone call one day saying he was born 2 days ago. You have an hour to decide. The birth mom picked you guys, can come get him. So in a matter of about 6 hours, we had no idea he existed. We were home. We had nothing. We didn't have a crib. We didn't have the hospital gave us a car seat. They gave us diapers. They gave us all that stuff. So we had that pretty abrupt change, and then opened Lumberjacks, and then decided to purchase dips. So people thought we were nuts, and I guess we just decided to keep going.
So
Yeah,
great.
we love Danville Dips, though. It's a special place in our hearts. It's one of our sell points to the original owners was we didn't want to change it into something else. We wanted to take what it was and make it better, because we thought like it's a throwback and it fit.
Right.
And we wanted to keep that community focus and make it better. And you'll see like some small changes we've made. But we've added gourmet hot chocolates recently. We added hot dogs. We've added all kinds of stuff to try to just offer a wider variety because a lot of people, they hear Gamble Dips and they just think ice cream. But we actually have, really good lunch food. Like, what's your go? What's your
Number 4.
Number 4 is that the ham and goat cheese.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it's
ham and goat cheese
amazing.
sandwich. Yeah, and a lot of people, trying to figure out how do we brand that? How do we get people aware of it? But we do have really good food. And just we're innovating stuff on a daily basis of what are new products we can bring in. We try to we'd like to partner with Flavor Burst here in Danville.
Yep.
Nobody has been to Danville a while. We tried the crunchy cream stuff for a while, which is basically like our dipster on a cone, right? But people actually, they really liked the old school Flavor Burst, like the swirl flavor. So we decided to keep with that. But just being innovative, and honestly, ice cream is fun. It's so easy to make people happy with a good ice cream cone, or when we have events on the square, just having that lock in on the community and being present, it was really important to us. So it was kind of a no-brainer when the opportunity came up.
It's a perfect location. I love the atmosphere. Jocelyn and I, yes, love the food.
We eat there often.
Yeah.
More than we get ice cream.
What is it saying about me that I have 110,000 points?
Oh, wow.
What can she get? I think
And we
she probably
use
won a
them.
trip or something.
And we use them. Yes. And we have used them.
And you have used them.
Yes. So I don't know.
I think that says you're keeping us in business.
Yes. Kelly alone is driving them.
It's not all me, but yesterday after our meeting, the high schoolers were like, "Hey, can we go for?" And I'm like, "Yes, I will take you guys for ice cream."
Well, that's the great thing is ice cream is great. No matter, like, even today when it's cold and it's supposed to snow later, like, ice cream's always good.
Yep.
So
we did have a couple of girls that got the gourmet hot chocolate.
Okay.
I saw a red velvet come out,
red velvet.
and
they were like excited to make the red velvet, and then the kids were super excited to eat the red velvet or drink it.
Yeah, they're brand new and just something. We were like, man, that could be something cool that we do. And what else can we offer so people want to come in the wintertime?
Yeah,
right.
So besides, ice cream, that'll always be the bread and butter. But what are some of those extra things we can do?
Yeah. Hot chocolate, we've been advertising it with the Winterland.
Yes.
Bring your hot chocolate, pick it up, bring it.
And we've got 20% coupon in the Winterland.
Yes.
So come get your hot chocolate right after you go through Winterland to warm you up.
Yep.
Especially if you did the carriage ride. We did that the other night. It was pretty cold, but it was still fun.
Did you love it?
Yeah, we did love our kids, especially. Like, we have a picture. So we have a 3-year-old, our son JJ. We have a 2-year-old adopted daughter Casey, and then we have a 5-month-old Isaac, who was also kind of a surprise this year. But we have a picture of him underneath the blanket with just his eyes staring out of the lights. It's pretty cute. So they loved it, and they give you blankets and stuff on the carriage ride and let you pet the horse, and it was really fun.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm excited about this addition to Winterland. I'm thankful for main carriage events.
Yeah.
We're coming to us and saying, "Hey, can we partner and do this?" So I'm excited about that. All right. So next so we've got our dips. Now we're in Square Burger, correct?
Square Burger was a complete surprise. So I had been kicking around a burger concept for Danville for a while, looked at a couple spaces, just never came to fruition, had this idea. And then again, our partners, Stephanie and Trevor. So it's kind of hard to keep separate because my wife's name's Stephanie as well.
Right.
But so we have Cabin Coffee, both locations, and dips, just me and my wife. And then we have partnership with Stephanie and Trevor Bernhardt on Lumberjacks. And then Square Burger was the next thing. And basically what happened is when Red's closed, we saw a need. We talked to Tim Wright, who owns the building, and said, "Hey, here's a vision we have. Are you interested?" And it was a partnership that was super easy. We had a concept that was an incredibly fast startup. I couldn't believe how fast we did it. I think from when we decided to do it to opening, it was about 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And we feel like it's been a great addition to the community. We're still getting the word out about our products. We just did a whole menu revamp, added a whole bunch of stuff. And we don't just have burgers. We have really good grilled chicken sandwiches. Our cheese curds are pretty good. Yeah, a lot of people, that's what they bounce for. But my brother-in-law, his name is Franz, he's actually the chef. So he was the chef of Cunningham Group for 6 years. So we brought him in to help run it and help come up with burger ideas and stuff. And it was also a way of helping his dream come true. Because that's a big reason why we do what we do too, is I tell people if I wanted to make a whole lot of money, I would have stayed in the private sector working for Kohl's or other companies. But the impact we can have as entrepreneurs, even though it's significantly more stressful and difficult, But creating opportunities for others, like my brother-in-law, where he got to see this vision of his own restaurant come true, and now it's going to grow even more with a concept we'll talk about soon. But Square Burger opened. It's actually been, we just hit our year anniversary at the start of December.
Yeah.
So it's been a little over a year, and it's gone extremely well. Exceeded expectations. We've done everything from, we had Square Burger at the Indy 500 this year.
Yes.
Two stands selling Square Burger out of the concession stands up to 500, which was insane. My job was driving the golf cart to like resupply the stands, driving the people.
Yeah, that's the job I was.
It was pretty frustrating though, but you go like half a mile an hour, and you're not allowed to honk, or else Roger Penske will get mad at you. So you're not allowed to honk at people to get out of the way. So I did learn that lesson, but it was really fun, and we learned a lot. We're going to be there again next year, and just trying to find unique ways to get Square Burger out. You know, we're coming up with some really cool, like we're doing a Christmas Advent thing coming out, like calendar, where we'll run some specials leading up to Christmas. And
I think we are part of one of them. Sunday.
Yeah. So if you visit Winterland on Sunday, you'll get a ticket, I think, to use for a discount at Square Burger. Or no, other way around. You buy at Square Burger.
Yeah.
And then you get a free entry into Winterland.
Which will actually be after this podcast is. So sorry,
So
you missed it.
Yeah,
maybe cut that.
Yeah.
But just trying to find unique things to put out there, and how do we add value to the community? That's really, like I said, I never thought I'd be in food. I still tell people I'm trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. My wife had clear vision from the time she was 16, 17 years old, and I thought I was going to be a teacher. That's what all my aptitude tests said and stuff. And then I got in a classroom my freshman year of college and was like, no, this is not what I wanted to do. So I played around with being a paramedic. Just took entry-level jobs and then kind of worked my way up in different career fields, and just found out I just love leadership in different capacities. And then I think what I've kind of identified is I might not ever have my burning bush moment where this is exactly what I'm supposed to do, but I just need to do the best that I can in whatever position I'm doing and serve the Lord in what I'm doing.
I love that.
So trying to keep that focus. It's hard sometimes because, you want to have that like complete clarity, right? This is what I was born to do. And I think we as humans have that innate desire. But I think ultimately what matters is where we go with our time here, right?
Absolutely. I'm a couple of years older than you, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I just have fun, and I figure it out. I guess I just keep opening businesses to try to figure out what it is.
Well, maybe that's right.
Yeah.
So you actually came and spoke to our Next Gen Chamber about a month ago, I guess. Phenomenal job.
Thank you.
But one of the things that you talked about, I think people think that you own a business, you're printing money.
Yeah.
Are you printing money?
I wish. I wish that was true. I always say business ownership is kind of like an iceberg. People see a lot of you have all this flexibility. You're obviously opening businesses, but they don't see everything that's underneath the surface. So, I managed hundreds of millions of dollars on a P&L when I was with other companies. And I am more stressed now handling my own P&Ls than I ever was handling that amount of money for other companies, because it's your money.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to snow later today. As an employee, I love snow. As an employer and a business owner, I hate snow, because then there's additional costs of snow removal. You have to close your business, which means no revenue. So if the business isn't making money, we're not making money. So there's a whole lot of avenues, and there's business loans. There's I use the dollar analogy a lot for the kids, and that is for our employees, because we like to be transparent about that. Is everything we make is a dollar. 30 cents goes to buying the goods to actually sell. Another 25 to 30 cents goes to paying employees. So already off the bat, half the money's gone. Then you have to have, what if our freezer goes down? Where's that money coming from? So you have to have all these contingencies. You have your utilities, you have your rent, you have, miscellaneous stuff, office supplies, all the subscriptions for payroll, all those things. And so when you start whittling that down, there's really not that much money left out of that $1 at the end, where that is a perception. And trust me, I'll be transparent with anybody and say, if you want to make a ton of money and that's all you care about, don't be an entrepreneur. It's more about the impact that we can have. Like, yes, we're a for-profit business. We have to be profitable, and we want to be charitable, but in order to be charitable, we have to be profitable. So it's trying to balance those two things, which is still the hardest thing for me to figure out, even almost, 7 years later, is how do you balance those things? But we also get to create opportunities. We employ about 65 to 70 people between all of our businesses in Hendricks County, soon to be more. So we love to create opportunities and tell kids, I don't care because we have a lot of entry level kids who work for us because most people view food service as a not forever job, right? And so we want to teach them something that they can take to a future career. So whether they're there for 5 months or 5 years, what's something we can teach them that they can take forward and be able to utilize in whatever career field they go into, or whether it's a school project or whatever that relationship is. Because that's what I've learned is all this stuff is relational. But I wish, sometimes people understood like that small business is not easy, especially the food industry it's hard right now. It's down. You see large companies like Wendy's, Starbucks closing thousands of stores every year.
Yeah.
Right. It's not an easy business to make it in, but I think you just got to keep your heart in the right place. And if anybody ever wants to have conversations with me about entrepreneurship and what that feels like and what that looks like, I'm always willing to have conversations. But there is that misconception that it's just they see that maybe the flexibility, which I value because of my young children, right? But they don't necessarily see all the hard work or the me working till 2 a.m. on stuff. Or me laying in bed at night with my wheels turning, going through my P&L, or thinking, how can I drum up more sales? That type of stuff. There's a lot of work behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So, all right, what's your favorite at Square Burger?
Oh man, I love the peanut butter jelly burger. That was actually that was my creation. You can't go away with the kids thing. So
It's the Southwest.
Oh, Southwest.
And she gets the
Okay,
good
she
show.
gets
We
the
split it.
We split it.
But the peanut butter jelly, that was something I had actually had at Triple X, and I was like, how do we take that and do our own unique twist on it? So it's actually, we use peanut butter and then we use a bacon jam. And then we have jalapeno crispers and bacon on it. It's kind of hits that sweet and savory mark. It's really good. I don't think I've had a bad burger there. I love all the burgers. I don't like onions, so I normally mix the onions on whatever I get. But I'm excited about some of the stuff we've launched, and all the sauces are house made. The beef's fresh, never frozen. We bring all this stuff in. We wanted really fresh ingredients. And we wanted to price it to a fair point, but we also understand we can't match like McDonald's or Culver's necessarily on pricing. Being a small business, we don't have the buying power or supply chain that they do, but it's like, how do we scratch this? It's just so like we launched the All-American Cheeseburger, which is a more cost-effective burger than how we offer for $8.99 with chips, with our house-made kettle chips. To try to hit that, but we also, if you want more premium, like the quesos and some of those things, the ingredients are more bougie, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's a great meal. So just trying to balance that, yes.
So you had mentioned, we were talking about the menu.
Yeah.
I tried the peanut butter jelly, by the way, the peanut butter. I liked it. It wasn't like, it was like, oh my gosh.
It's hard to beat a lot of cheese on anything. It's really good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right. So next up, it's been talked about a lot recently throughout the community.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 20 West.
Yeah. 20 West Public House is kind of the name, and it's a concept that I never foresaw coming. But it was, I kind of thought like we were nuts for doing Square Burger. Like maybe that's why I started to but like I said, whenever God starts to open doors, we kind of ask why, and we just have to trust His sovereignty and why He's creating opportunities. And so with 20 West, we had a gentleman named Scott Langville approach us, who's moving to Danville, has a huge heart for community, is also faith-based, who wanted to just create something really cool for Danville. He's not in it to make a ton of money, but he also doesn't want to lose money, right? But how do we restore some of these spaces on the square that have been vacant for years?
Yes.
How do we create a vibrant downtown? We've tried to do that on our own micro level with Dips and the Square Burger, right? And there's other businesses that do a tremendous job. Frank's, and don't get mad at me if I forget the name. Like everybody on the square they're tremendous neighbors. We all have that desire, right? But how do we continue to make it vibrant and viable going forward? Especially, the world's changing. Danville has development. The Hendricks County is developing like crazy. How do we make Danville the hub of Hendricks County? Was kind of the vision, right? And so Scott came to us and had a conversation and just asked what was our opinion. I had been through that old diesel space. I mean,
how many times?
Probably 10 to 15 times. It's been vacant 7 years, I think, 7 to 8 years. And old buildings kind of scare me in general because you never know what you're going to uncover. So just as we started to work through what does this partnership look like with Scott, with us and our partners, Stephanie and Trevor, and then, we utilized my brother-in-law's skills, Franz, as a chef. This was more in his wheelhouse too, beyond burgers. It's a creative outlet for him. we just started to ask, what does Danville? And we feel like Danville needed something on a more upscale side, something that's been asked for years, and people are always asking for more restaurant options in Danville. And we're like, all right, there's not really a place you can go get a good steak, so let's incorporate that in the menu. And then we just started doing a lot of market analysis and looking at different dishes, even pulling from stuff we love. Like we'll have fish and chips there because I love fish and chips. And you got to make sure that's good, right?
Nathan?
We're doing a lot of scratch made stuff. But then it kind of spiraled into partnering with Scott. And then just as we started to explore, get contractor bids, I mean, it's a pretty substantial cost to not just on the necessarily on the business side. You know, people think about all the equipment and furnitures and fixtures and initial inventory and all the stuff that goes into that. But to restore a building that's, you know, built in the late 1800s, that's been sitting vacant for so long, pretty much all the electrical will be restored. A lot of, I mean, we actually, as we pulled up floorboards, found like a massive drainage culvert underneath one of the sides that nobody even knew existed that we have to fill. And there's always unknown costs in old buildings. And when Scott shared what his vision was for what this concept to be and how it could lead into other concepts, building commercial office spaces upstairs, which he's already had so much interest in that I think they're full already.
That is awesome.
And then he wanted a really cool restaurant downstairs, and he had this vision for an outdoor patio space. If anybody's familiar with the space, on the west side, there's the mural, and then kind of a generic parking lot that has about 4 spots. And I drive a truck, and it is miserable to try to even park a truck in there. So just as we talked about creating gathering spaces for the town, part of what that beautification looks like, we came up with the concept, and we're pretty excited about it. We're targeting opening summer next year. Construction's fully underway. There's a lot of moving pieces with it though, and it's been exciting. We're in full menu development mode, being in test kitchens. You know, we care a lot about the community. We want people to have a place to go and gather and enjoy and have something different. We feel like we've lived here long enough to know we've put people asking for something like this for a long time. So
my goal is anytime I don't have to cross 267, I'm happy.
Yeah,
and I can get what I want, and I don't have to cross.
See, that used to be Dan Jones and like Costco area. I always just referred to that area basically from Dan Jones east.
Yeah,
it's the heart of darkness. You know, I grew up in the area, driving the area, but there's so much traffic. Right?
There is.
So it's how do we, and I love the charm of Danville. You get to the tree light. If you're here for the community, that's every other town, and this town is trying to create something that made better has.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we want to invest our resources, our time, our efforts. There's already been countless hours spent on this concept without thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, like we have to be profitable. Businesses, if they're not profitable, they don't stay in business, and that's why you see business fail. So
from an economic development standpoint, I have taken several restaurants years through that building. I developers, looking at the building. Everybody's like, well, why is it empty? Why has it been 7 years? What happened to the restaurant?
Right.
I'm so excited because when we bring in economic development people, other businesses, not even just restaurants, just other businesses, and we have a conversation with them, they look and they're like, this is prime location on 36, 20,000 cars a day. Did you know that? 20,000 cars a day. Go buy that.
Yeah.
20,000 cars a day. That's what the traffic study on the website says.
Yeah.
And, why is this empty? Why is this empty? And so to me, that will help to, I think that will encourage other businesses because they will see a spot filled that had been open for 7 years.
Yeah.
So economic development wise, I think this is a win-win for our community. Also, it's a win-win because,
yeah, right. And we're planning, we're going to have about 115 seats in the space. We'll have one side that's kind of an upscale bar side where we'll have TV, watch games, stuff like that. Then we'll have a family dining side. Then we'll have a private banquet room that's going to hold about 25 people. So we're looking at how can we partner with the Blank House, other wedding venues, rehearsal dinners. People can reserve it for private events. Like just all of those things. We want to offer high quality stuff, but not at too high a price point. We want to offer, we could have something at $14 to a really premium steak at 45 to 50, right? We want to offer that diversity and also, make sure we're catering to the lunch crowd around the courthouse with a lot of lunch menu. We're putting a lot of thought into, our focus is on what does the community want, right? And we're trying to create a menu that's pretty diverse that can get multiple people into that space. And I think the outdoor patio could be an amazing thing. We just, met with the original mural artist, and that mural is due to be repainted anyways. And we're coming up with what that could look like. How do we tie it? The outdoor space will have a green space where kids can play. There'll be cornhole boards. There'll be outdoor seating. There'll be a shipping container bar so people can sit outside and we can then do concerts potentially over in that space or live music. Like we're just trying to create that ambiance on the space. It's just been dead. And I do think, like you said, it just takes a few steps to get that ball rolling. And I think there's been some dominoes that move the ball. And I'm excited for what this could be. And if anybody ever has questions, I say about this project, that they should reach out to me. And I've even come to one of my coffee shops. I'll meet you here at the Beehive or the Red Basket, and we can have a conversation about what the scope of the project is, and what the ultimate goal is. You try to be as involved as you can, get back regularly to schools, to different organizations. I'm part of a church, a Bible church is near middle school. Like my wife and I, we want the end to be home for our kids for years to come. So we want to help contribute in ways and give people places to gather and enjoy a really good meal and maybe get something that we don't have.
That's great. So, as our board president, you're obviously very involved in the chamber. I know Jocelyn had some questions about you, the chamber,
and it's not about
your
thoughts.
So my first question was just when you, so obviously you weren't involved in the but when you opened Cabin, were you a member? Did you plan on becoming a member?
Yeah.
Why Danville? All the things.
Yeah. So when we opened Cabin, we had a strategy. We joined the Avon Chamber first, naturally, an Avon location, even though it's kind of like in the middle. So we're not technically the town of Avon, but our Cabin location, we're county. So it's kind of like east of the window, west way. People don't know what to call it. But we had that plan. But then when I decided to leave my job full time and not been and take the risk and dump in full time with my wife, we had to be really strategic about, all right, we're leading part of the about Danville with the community that we didn't know we were in, but like we always made the back. And we can't have dinner stuff a lot and all that stuff did. So we were like, well, we pull a lot from Danville and we did that. Let's look at doing. So that's when I originally reached out to them, saying, we're members of the fund bill that they got in. So that's kind of where it started. It was probably about a month in. I didn't get my head above water. I think that they get to the point where it's like I can actually open names and not be stuck behind the counter for 12 hours a day taking orders. But that's kind of what led to that decision. And then what kind of led to my decision to be as involved in Danville was, especially in the when we made the decision to move there, we are big believers in being active in the community. That's a big reason for part of it. First plan, that's a big reason for wanting to have businesses here is how do we tie ourselves to the community to provide service. The chamber is not a paid position for me, right? And so I just was like, how can I help? How can I be beneficial? Because there's also the chamber that when you only get what you put in. So you don't join the chamber and expect to just get mad. So you have to really drive relationships and build those connections. And a lot of those connections are led to my opportunities that have happened, so I can keep that firsthand. But then, when I was asked to be on the board, I did not feel qualified, and I'm like, sure, I don't know what I'm doing. And then especially probably the same thing when you guys asked me to do when Steve Patterson had served for a while, over the next couple of years, asked if I was interested. I think, the importance of having a true small business owner locally involved in the chamber just has a different aesthetic and they have a different mindset maybe. Right. To not devaluing any other members of the chamber, like banks or all of that stuff, but they're all small business as well. Just different skills and then having because there's just not a lot of really small local restaurant, especially in that. That there's more in Danville than Avon, obviously. And we've been thrilled with the whole like this. How do we add value? Is it worth the time to put in, right? And I feel like it has been. I value the relationships. That's what we only do what we do to build relationships. Whether that be with our employees, with our management, with customers. You never know how we have a lot of opportunity to impact people, right? And that I take for granted. But we had a COVID gentleman during COVID saying you didn't think you would have made it without CSM. And like to me, like you decided that you didn't right? But then I'll be able to kind of extend that with the office, kind of people about the front door of our restaurant. Do that. That's how do I build that relationship with people in the community that know so many people in the state that I don't have that is know before them. So that's probably the biggest reason I jumped all on board, and there might be days on board. But overall, I really enjoy like being able to speak to the next generation. Love speaking to younger leaders at schools, trying to impart knowledge. I don't know very much, and something Scott's taught me is trying to get it done with person in every little. And I think that's a good skill to have. It's just speaking to people and learn from them. I think the chamber is one of the best avenues to do that.
All right, Jordan. We talked about, you mentioned a couple events.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite event that Chamber does?
So I love the golf outing because I love golf, but my favorite by far is the community awards dinner. Just because it brings all the people who make this community so great together, and get to hear all the stories of impact of those people. My wife and I consider ourselves pretty low on that list of people. And so to get to hear all these stories of all these people who have made impacts, whether that's, Brad and Christine Bourne, who were recognized for retiring with Mayberry, or the Ben Comers of the world, or Jerry Bornholt, or, Bill with the Royal Theater. All these people have poured into Danville and done a lot to make Danville what it is. Just to get to celebrate with them, enjoy a night with them, and hear stories of how much people care about this community, it's pretty inspiring.
I agree. I think we have some really awesome, amazing people. It'll be interesting. We're changing up community awards a little bit this year with Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be more of a community event. One of the things I've always envisioned is that we have more of the community at the community awards.
Yeah.
Right.
So we will be doing the community awards at Oktoberfest.
Yeah, just to admit, it's not just a chamber event for chamber members. People are being recognized who aren't part of the chamber. This is just truly people who serve Danville, and how can we recognize them? And the chamber just plays a role in putting that on.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Final question.
Oh boy.
So I've been leaving like a quote of the day just to be fun.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask our guests, what is a piece of life advice, business advice, or a quote that you
live by?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously I said I'm a man of faith, so I try to live everything in my life through that lens. But one quote I've heard I'm a pretty competitive person. I was an athlete. I hate to be bad at anything. I hate to have any type of failure, right? But one quote I've heard recently, I think I shared with the Next Gen Chamber, was failure is not the opposite of success. It's a step on the way to success. Mm-hmm. And trying to remind myself, now it's hard in the moment, right? But every career, everything's going to have some type of downswing. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that? How do you process it? How do you get through it? And how do you utilize it for motivation going forward? I think that's probably been the most real thing that I'm trying to live through on a daily basis. And then ultimately at the end of the day, if I can say, hey, I'm serving God in what I'm doing. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good friend. I'm transparent with people. That's what matters. Mm-hmm. Some of that stuff that the world measures as success doesn't always matter, right? Yeah. But, just trust that if you're faithful, that everything will work out.
Yeah. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be the test dummy. I
know, it's exciting.
And thank you for all that you do for the chamber. We are very lucky that you pour into the chamber, you pour into us. Mm-hmm. I call and okay, I need to, and you just sit and listen, and you're always the voice of reason and that kind of a thing. So we want to thank you for all that you do for us, for our community.
Yeah.
And so thank you for coming on.
No, I appreciate you guys having me.